Cheers and welcome to Bitter Reality Brewing. Yes, what is the number one most important thing in home brewing, professional brewing, just in brewing? Number one, most important thing. Think about it, write it down. Don't forget, like, subscribe, keep sharing. Definitely appreciate the support. I've been thinking about doing this video for a while. And I'm also thinking about doing a little contest to celebrate the 5,000 subs coming up, hopefully by Monday if I'm lucky, maybe a little after, but maybe we'll do the contest coming up this coming week. But I was listening to this professional brewer and I already knew the answer to this. And if you've been brewing for 6-7 years, you probably know it. If you've been brewing for 10-12 years or longer, you definitely know it. But you don't think about it. You just don't, and you forget how important it really is. So, yes, we're gonna set cleaning aside because cleaning is incredibly important from beginning to end. Yes, we all know that. I'm just going to assume you know how to clean and you know how to keep things clean. So we're gonna go into what I consider the most important item, assuming you're keeping things clean. Is it fresh malts? No. Is it fresh hops? No, you can brew beer without hops. You make quite a bit of beer without hops. Is it having clean water? That does help, but no. You can do things to the water to dechloramine, dechlorine, and add minerals. Yeah, you can boil it if it's dirty. I mean, people use recycled water, which technically the water I get out of my faucet is recycled water, so that's everywhere. But I really thought about this and I was like, man, this is just such a great way of thinking about this. If you watch somebody when they go fishing and you see videos, you see photos, and it's all about, hey, look what I caught, hey, look. But you don't see anything behind the scenes. And you're like, wow, that was a great fish, or oh, wow, that was great. That's not the way it works. When you go to a restaurant, you don't care who caught it. You don't care how cool a fish looked. You want to know how good it tastes. You want to smell it. You want to enjoy it. It's kind of the same thing in beer brewing. Everybody shows off their cool beer brewing equipment. Hey, I've got an anvil, or hey, I've got a Herms, or this, or I've got that, or I've got this crazy tower system. Yeah, it's the bling, it's kind of like the fancy car that you see going down the road and they go, wah, 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 and then they start moving and you're like, what the heck was that? I see that all the time. It's quite entertaining. So if you have a bad brew day or you have a great brew day, I hate to tell you this, it might matter, it might not. You can have the best brew day possible with the best equipment, best hops, freshest malts, fresh water, great yeast, fresh, White Labs did it, Y Yeast, whoever did it, and they handed it right to you. Hey, this yeast is ready to go, pitch it. And your beer still might not turn out very good. Thinks the light bulbs are starting to go off. Give you a little hint. Temperature control, yes, fermentation. In my book, fermentation is number one. And the way the gentleman said, he's like, look, you can screw up your brew day. You can have the wrong malt in there, you can put the wrong hop in there, you can forget a hop addition, you can forget a sugar addition, you can pitch the wrong yeast. But if you can ferment and control your fermentation temperatures properly, you might still have a decent beer. It might not be the beer you wanted to make, but it might still be a really good beer. You can have the best brew day ever. You nailed your timings, you nailed the water, your efficiencies were high, everything was awesome. You just had a great day. It just came out perfect. And you go to taste the beer and go, I don't know what I did wrong. Something doesn't taste right. I must have messed up. Can't imagine what I did wrong. And you're sitting there thinking about your brew day. Forget your brew day. It's important, but it's not as important as the fermentation temperatures and regulating those temperatures. Now, some of you are like, oh, but I put it in my closet in my bedroom. Well, if you're starting out doing a 1 gallon, things like that, and you're learning, I did that. Hey, you do what you have, you do with what you have. I get it. But you can have one of the best beers you've ever made, and it can taste awful or off or just not right because you didn't manage your fermentation temperatures. Keezers, kegerators. Yeah, kegerator can be used as a fermenter. I wouldn't try to be running your beer out of one tap and another on trying to control your temperatures. The key is you can't have those big giant temperature swings. Not good. Now, if you're using like yeast or however you want to say it, it can tolerate it pretty well, but I'm not going to say it's going to be better than if you were able to control your temperatures. The majority of the yeasts like to be taken nice, low and slow, and gradually bring them up. I've brewed enough beers too at the higher range of some of the recommended temperatures to tell you that they're not always the best temperatures to ferment at. I have a local brewery. They use USO5 in a lot of beers they make, and it tastes really, really good. And I'm like, how are you getting some of these beers so good? Their answer, we know how to manage USO5. USO5 is a great yeast if it's managed properly, which means the temperatures have to flow. And you're not always just running low and slow. Sometimes you're running nice and low and you taper up at just the right time. And it comes out and you drink it and you go, wow, that's amazing. That came out really, really good. Or, hey, I can't believe this beer, we screwed up. Still tastes great. It's just not what we were expecting, but it's still a great beer. So fermentation temperatures. If you're looking to show off something, you know, I'm gonna tell you, I use a Keyser. I now have a kegerator that we'll do a video on. It's not set up yet. I'm using it as a fermenter for lagering. I have my fermentation chamber. I still do room temp ferms where the temperature does fluctuate, and I will tell you, Saison yeasts seem to do very well with that. I don't seem to have a problem with Saisons coming out tasting good. They might be able to taste better if I controlled the temperature a little bit more and kept it low and slow and nice and steady and didn't let it fluctuate as much. But I've had great success with Saisons. So if you can't control your fermentation temperatures, start rethinking some of your yeasts if your beers aren't as good as you wish they should be or don't feel they're as good as you think they should be. You might not have good temperature control. And if you can't fix that or can't afford to fix that, then like I said, look at yeasts that can complement beers, and you can make really great beers that can tolerate those fluctuations. Now there's a lot of Belgian ale yeasts out there that don't tolerate it very well, but Saison yeasts seem to do very well, or at least the majority. I know 565 does a great job. I also know that there's a lot of the Norwegian Kvike, or Kvike, however you want to say it, yeasts. Everybody has their difference. I'm even learning North and South seem to say it a little different. They can tolerate a lot of fluctuations. Not to say I haven't had, when I did that big beer experiment, I had two that kind of wasn't really impressed. And the temperatures were rather controlled. They weren't all over the place, but you can get off flavors from yeasts that, you know, do tolerate those flux or tolerate higher temperatures. So something to be aware of. Tilt hydrometer, it is not a way to control your fermentation temps, but it is a great way, and I love using these, to monitor my fermentation temps and monitor my gravities before, of course, using the Anton Bear or EasyDens to verify it at the end. But yeah, they do a great job at letting me know my Inkbird's doing a good job. You know, I zap things all the time during brew, non-brew fermentation just to see what I'm getting. All of those different radiant temperatures, and even in a fermentation chamber, sometimes the temperatures are gradient within that chamber. So you need to be aware of those things, and that's where the tilt kind of helps me. I will leave links to things down below that I think are beneficial. But number one, fermentation control, not fermentation temp, fermentation control. Number one, hands down, with cleaning aside, I'm going to assume you know how to keep things clean. But let me know what you think. Don't forget, like, subscribe, keep sharing, keep watching, and definitely subscribe so you don't miss when I do the contest. I'm going to celebrate the 5,000 subs, do some nice giveaways, give away maybe some yeasts and maybe some swag, you know what I'm saying? So, thank you again. Cheers.